be is way ahead.
We're joined by some more guests now here in the studio, keeping you up to the minute on everything with the midterm election. You might recognize Vlad Davidiuk.
Okay.
Did I give your last name justice?
That's
okay,
good.
With the Houston Republican Party joining us.
And Otis Evagaro?
Evagaro. Yeah. Me and Vlad have the distinct
You
pleasure of
guys
having seen
don't
you.
And
make
we
it
put
easy
you
for
two
people.
together.
We don't.
of the Harris County Democratic Party.
Yes, sir.
I'm just going to call you Otis from now on.
Oh, that's fine.
Is that good?
Most people
Otis
do.
and Vlad.
Okay, Otis and Vlad.
I think a
Podcast.
local race that is interesting to talk about, gentlemen, is Judge Ed Emmett, of course. And Ed Emmett, a Republican, very well known, very well liked here in Houston, but there has been some talk and concern about him being so far down on the ballot.
And that's what his commercial
And
has
being-
said.
That's
right?
actually the focus of his ad.
Yes,
we
yes,
can't
yes.
find you.
And so that he might well be greatly challenged by his opponent, who is relatively unknown up until this election.
Well, it's always a concern when you have a candidate who is as prominent as someone like County Judge Ed Emmett, who is kind of hidden in the ballot. That being said, he and his team have done a great job of making sure that they're highlighting the fact that Republicans need to vote straight ticket, go all the way down the ballot, make sure that each one of those candidates is voted for, including Judge Emmett. And Republican voters know, and even Democrat voters know, that Ed Emmett's on the ballot, and Emmett has done a great job for Harris County, and they're going to deliberately seek him out and vote for him.
Yeah. What are your expectations looking ahead into the night for Republicans, and especially here in the local area, in the Houston area?
It's going to be a very tight night. We know that these races are very good, highly contested. There's voter enthusiasm on both sides. Otis and I were actually just talking about this right now. How the lines are long, the enthusiasm is on both sides. Calls are into the office off the hook. And so we know that voters are very interested in making sure that their choices are clear. So it's going to be a bit of a night, and it's going to be very close.
Yeah, Otis, let's talk about one of the races. It's Lizzie Fletcher running for the first time against the incumbent John Culberson. You have any thoughts with it? This got a lot of attention in terms of the ads we saw.
There were a
on
lot
television.
of ads.
Right.
You know, we heard Lion Lizzie, we heard her say that's ridiculous, and on and on and on.
It's interesting. You know, you can't call someone a liar who's never had the job. But you know, with that race, it's interesting because Donald Trump lost that district. That district is changing demographically rapidly at a rapid pace. The suburbs, and then you have we call that wealthy part of Houston, that House District 134 with Sarah Davis in it. That's a lot of West University. And then you go up more into Cypress, the suburbs, which has changed a lot demographically. It's a lot more diverse than what it
So
used
you're
to
saying
be.
the change in the increase in diversity is
Yes.
better for Lizzie Fletcher?
The increase in diversity is definitely better for Lizzie Fletcher.
Because?
Because historically, the diversity backs Democrats, and when you have that high number in Congressional District 7, it bodes well for Lizzie.
All right, so here 3% of the votes in early. We want to point this out. Lizzie Fletcher up by just a few percentage points over John Culberson.
Right.
Yeah. And what do you think this is saying, Vlad, as we look at just this one particular race? And I know it's very early.
Sure,
I want to
absolutely.
emphasize that. It is very early. But, you know, I think in a lot of these races, especially in a red state like Texas, you wouldn't maybe anticipate it to be so close and so tight.
Well, no, but here's the case. This race was going to be tight from the get-go because 2016 Hillary Clinton won Congressional District 7. So Democrats have had a target on this race from the day the polls closed on 2016. So they've invested a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort. They even got involved in the primary by trying to influence who Democrat voters would pick to run against John Culberson. So we know from the very beginning that Democrats have been heavily invested in trying to flip this district. That being said, Congressman Culberson and Harris County Republicans have been aware of that from the get-go, and we've invested a lot of time and effort into that district as well, making sure we get out the vote.
What about, go ahead.
I think it's really interesting too. You know, you're looking at the seasoned politician, the veteran, versus the newcomer, right? And it's interesting that the newcomer is seeing this much success early on, once again, with just to look at the early votes.
And
here.
as Otis pointed out, because the demographics of that district are changing, as you say, historically favors Democrats. Hillary Clinton won this, as you pointed out, in 2016. So not totally surprising. But still, if I were Culberson, it's like, hey, look, I've been here 16 years, on the House Appropriations Committee. I brought money here after Harvey. So, he's got a lot he can point to in this race.
Right.
Yeah, and for us, I mean, it's interesting that you say it's the newcomer, right? We do not think that Texas is a Republican state. We believe that Texas is a non-voting state. And this is what happens when you get people engaged. You're seeing the results of higher engagement with people. You're seeing more people focus on registering people to vote. You're seeing more volunteers. You're seeing more activists. You're seeing more people just engaged in the process. Young people. 18% of the electorate in early vote was voters under the age of 35. That's huge. That demographic is up 500% since the last turnout in Texas. So the more we engage voters, the more you're going to see Democrats getting elected up and down the ballot.
All right, Otis, we're going to interrupt you. Let's go to the Ted Cruz campaign out in the Galleria area. And we understand Mattress Mac is talking to the folks there. Let's listen to him.
Another 6 years in the Senate of the United States. So on behalf of my friends Heidi and Ted Cruz and their wonderful daughters, I want to thank everybody for coming here tonight. Let's have a great party and a great result. God bless Texas, God bless you, and God bless Ted and Heidi Cruz. Thank you.
All right, just heard from Mattress Mac, Jim McIngvale there at the headquarters tonight for Ted Cruz, sharing his excitement, his faith, and his belief who will come on top there tonight. It was interesting because I didn't recall in an election season here, at least in recent times, where we've seen Jim McIngvale in an ad, and he actually did an ad in support of Culberson.
He did, Congressman Culberson has been very focused on flood relief for Harris County, especially for CD7. He was able to bring millions of dollars to the district, and so he's very much in tune with what those needs are and what needs to be done, and that's something that Mattress Mac has clearly been actively engaged in, especially considering what happened during Hurricane Harvey.
Sure.
So it's not surprising that that he would come out in support of his friend John Culberson. So it's good to see.
Otis pointed this out earlier. He made a point that Beto O'Rourke has also made, that in Texas it's about a non-voting state. There's so many people who have not voted, have gone to the polls for years. I've heard this, particularly not just young people, but among Hispanic voters. Not saying which way they would vote, but they're just underrepresented in the number of people who have voted.
I think that's partially true.
Yeah.
I think, but I think the other part of that is that up until recently, throw a little shade at Otis, Democrats have had a hard time finding good candidates to motivate their voters. It's hard to get somebody off the couch, hard to get somebody into the polling place when they don't have someone who is inspiring and someone who activates them. That's one of the reasons we're seeing Beto O'Rourke do so well this year, because he is a candidate who is very eloquent. He's very good at getting his point across, and it can be inspirational for a lot of people. That can motivate people.
We also, and to piggyback off Vlad's point, no shade thrown this way, but also we have a lot of women on the ballot. That's activated a lot of our base as well too. Women are voting at a really good rate right now, and that's helped. And usually, studies show that you have to ask a woman 7 times to run before she can even consider it. Not actually like do it, but consider it.
Yeah.
Now you've seen all these women activated up and down the ballot. That's inspiring. A demographic as well, and Beto's done a great job of engaging and unifying people.
The more people in, the better it is. I don't care who you're voting for.
Right. Exactly.
That's what we want.
Otis, Vlad, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Let's check out some more numbers now. We've talked quite a bit with these two guests about this race, talking about District 7. This is just early returns thus far. 1% of precincts reporting. Lizzie Fletcher with the lead there, 53%. John Culberson with 47%. Our Larry Seward is covering this race. He joins us now live from Culberson's campaign party. Larry?
Yeah, Mia, since that news about those early returns came out, the mood here hasn't changed not one bit. Listen, Representative Culberson expected a tight race. He told me he prepared as if he was going to be behind. That's something he does in every campaign, but none more than this time. We saw him earlier out at voting precincts, places that have been strong Republican strongholds in past elections, really for the last 50 years or so, making sure that things were in order. He believes that turnout is in his favor. He believes that will turn the tide here in his favor. In fact, he didn't feel like he was in that much jeopardy because he says voters in District 7 know his record. His slogan, if you can see the signs behind me, keeps his word. He talked about being the right person in the right place at the right time, helping expand the Katy Freeway, being a member of the House Appropriations Committee, getting money for this area to help recover after Hurricane Harvey. All of those things are things he's been reminding voters, things he's hearing from voters telling him, we have not forgotten what you've done for us, John. We have not been, in his words, deceived by Lizzie Fletcher's attack ads, which we have all seen have been anything but kind, but he believes that's backfired on her. And again, voter turnout, he believes at the end of the day, will turn the tide in his favor. Lynn, Mia?
See, that's Larry Siebert at the Culberson campaign. Sherman Chow now is with the Lizzie Fletcher campaign. Sherman?
Yeah, hey, we are here at the watch party for Lizzie Fletcher, and obviously people happy and encouraged by these early numbers. They're just coming up here, and take a look at the reaction behind us. Actually, right now they're looking at the O'Rourke Cruz numbers, which are basically tied. But of course, here at the Fletcher camp, she is up with these early returns right now, 53 to 47%. Alan here, tell me real quickly, sort of what do you make of these early numbers?
Well, I think it's very positive for the Democrats. We're looking right now, Beto is neck to neck with Ted Cruz, which is positive.
And for the Fletcher camp, I mean, she's up a couple of points.
And Lizzie apparently is ahead right now, and that is just great news. That's wonderful, and hopefully it'll hold up for the rest of the evening.
Alrighty. So again, the room filling up here. No big cheers yet. I think again, folks cautiously optimistic, but obviously you gotta, they're happy with these early numbers, and she is encouraged. Fletcher says even with these polls that she was basically tied, she feels like that those polls didn't reach out to many of the new voters, which she feels like would be turning out for her. The millennials, they may not have been counted in some of these polls, so she's feeling particularly strong, if you will, with the returns coming in. So we will see how the evening turns out, y'all.
That's right, Sherman. The polls are one thing, the actual election is another. Sherman Chow with Lizzie Fletcher's camp there tonight. All right, another big race lots of us are talking about here in the area. This is District 2, and it looks like Dan Crenshaw right now, early voting returns with the lead at 53%, Todd Litton with 46%. I think here, Dan Crenshaw, definitely a recognizable, memorable figure in this political landscape. He's definitely stood out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's a combat veteran, lost an eye to an IED in Afghanistan, trying to serve his country. It's unfortunate what Saturday Night Live tried to make a joke out of him, but at the same time, you have someone who is a newcomer to this process. He's never held elected office. He's trying to succeed Ted Poe, who is really big shoes to fill. But Dan has really done a really good job of connecting with voters across Harris County. Otis was referencing a little while earlier how the youth vote has really increased during this cycle. And a lot of people want to attribute that entirely to Beto, but we know for a fact, looking at the numbers, Dan Crenshaw's pulling a lot of those young voters.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because we had a young voter here earlier, Ben Prawler, and he mentioned Dan Crenshaw repeatedly.
Absolutely.
So I think you're right, he's making that connection.
Yeah.
All right, our midterm elections special coverage continues. Here's another look at some of the races we're following tonight.
Welcome back to our coverage of the 2018 midterm elections.
Yes, we are moving quite swiftly here. The remaining polls in Harris County closed just 25 minutes ago.
Right now, we can tell you Republican Governor Greg Abbott will be elected to a second term. The Associated Press calling this race like 10 minutes ago, defeating Democratic challenger Lupe Valdez. Now to the hottest race on the ticket tonight. We're talking about Republican Senator Ted Cruz, the incumbent against his challenger, Congressman Beto O'Rourke. You can see O'Rourke up just 3 percentage points with 4% of the precincts reporting. We will watch this throughout the night as we get closer. As we get later, the numbers become more significant.
And we are covering both candidates. First, Jason Miles is at the Ted Cruz watch party in the Galleria area. Jason.
Yeah, this crowd just erupted in applause. I think they saw that Governor Abbott result on the big screen here. Mattress Mac just spoke, giving his endorsement to Ted Cruz. And a little earlier, Ted Cruz's father, Raphael, gave the opening prayer, if you will, here at this watch party, saying he hopes for a, quote, red tsunami tonight, including the re-election of his son. My colleague Marcelino Benito is out in El Paso covering the O'Rourke campaign.
Jason, doors have opened here. People are just pouring in. They're dancing. They're happy with these early numbers. The campaign tells me as long as they can keep it under 5, once early votes are counted, they definitely feel like they're in this thing. So right now they are more optimistic than they were an hour ago now that polls have closed. But they're still watching this very closely. Back to you.
All right, Marcelino Benito, thank you so much. Now look at the race for Harris County Judge. Incumbent Ed Emmett here facing Lena Hidalgo. And look at this. Once again, early returns here, but this is pretty tied up at 49% for both candidates.
All right, it's a quick check on the race for Texas 7th Congressional District. Again, Lizzie Fletcher, John Culberson. Culberson, the incumbent. He's behind, but only 2% of the precincts reporting so far. And as our guests have pointed out, this is a district that has gone Democratic, has gone for Democratic candidates in the past, so this would not be a total shock. We'll have to watch it.
Election results continue all night. Be sure to stay with us both here on TV and online and Facebook. All right, back here with our special midterm elections coverage on KHOU 11, taking a look at some of the races here. Race for Lieutenant Governor, Dan Patrick with the lead with 50% of the vote versus Mike Collier with just 48%. This is with about 4% of the precincts reporting.
Yeah, so far we've not seen more than 4% of the precincts reporting in all of the races that we have been looking at. So that tells you how early it is as we move along. I don't think we really get a sense, unless you have like the governor's race, he's already been declared the winner. Right. That was not a surprise. You know, he really didn't have a challenger per se. Right. Lupe Valdez known, but not known well enough.
Something that did come as a surprise and that we were talking about in that pause there that we took was County Judge Ed Emmett versus Lena Hidalgo, 49%. This is neck and neck here. You gentlemen both commented about this. Why do you find this so interesting and so close?
Well, Lena Hidalgo is an unknown candidate. She has no previous elected office experience. Ed Emmett has been serving as Harris County Judge for more than a decade now, and you would expect voters to reward his service because he's been there through all these hurricanes. Hunker down. Through Hurricane Harvey now, and it's interesting that what we're seeing Democrats turn out strongly for their candidate, but at the end of the day, I'm sure that voters are going to bring Ed Emmett back.
Yeah.
Right. It's close for a reason. Now, Lena's found her voice lately, and she's had some terrific ads out there, and she's starting to become a known name around Harris County, which is really good. People are understanding the nuance that she wants to bring to the county commissioner's court. They understand that she's going to be willing to work with Rodney Ellis like they haven't been working together before. Also, hopefully Adrian Garcia makes it up there as well, too. So Lena has definitely been making a name for herself. And the Democratic Party has done a great job in trying to amplify her message and making sure that people understand where she is on the ballot and making sure that some Democrats that want to vote for Ed Emmett vote for Lena Hidalgo.
Yeah, I have to say, I did not see, not that this defines a candidate, and a campaign ad from Lena until maybe yesterday.
Yes,
Yeah.
this week.
Yeah, and I think that partly on her campaign being strategic, but if you go on Facebook and Twitter and social media and digital, when we talk about the youth vote, these are the things that they are seeing. It's not so much about the TV thing anymore, right? People talk about the NFL ratings being down. It's not down. It's just that people are watching it, streaming it, right?
Yeah.
Well, we know about
the
these
argument.
things, Otis.
Right. So you guys know we're digital right now.
We're streaming
we're
right
digital
now.
right
she
now.
has
for a
been,
reason.
she has been doing
That's
that
where she's been
consistently
doing
in
it.
her race. If you're paying attention to that race, you've seen a strong digital presence with Lena Eldaga. Now, I'm not saying that is the end-all, be-all. You still got to have your field team and getting out there and getting out the vote, knocking doors and phone banking and things like that. But Lena's definitely had a strong presence digitally.
Yeah. Do you think that means, Vlad, that there has to be a different approach, rather, with the Republican Party, or are they taking the same approach just differently?
It's one of those things where you have to have all the pieces in place.
Right.
All the pieces fit together like a puzzle. You can't really swap out one piece and expect the rest of it to work. So this is a comprehensive kind of situation. What Republicans are facing is a rapidly diversifying, rapidly growing, rapidly changing county. And so you have to have candidates who are responsive to their constituents, who are answerable to their voters, and who want to make sure that they're focused on those things.
Vlad, thank you so much. We want to get out to right now Sylvia Garcia.